My name is Antoine. Welcome to my Dharma path and to Lotus Mind Flow. That's the channel. I'm reading the Lotus Sutra, translated by Burton Watson, and the second chapter, Expedient Means. Prose comes first, and then after prose there's verse. So I'm going to read the prose and then I'll stop. After I read the prose, I'm going to explain some of the words, and then I'll read the verse form. At that time, the world-honored one calmly arose from his samadhi and addressed Sariputta, saying, "The wisdom of the Buddhas is infinitely profound and immeasurable. The door to this wisdom is difficult to understand and difficult to enter. Not one of the voice hearers, Pratyeka Buddhas, is able to comprehend it." I should have said, not one of the voice hearers or Pratyeka Buddhas is able to comprehend it. I repeated that sentence. What is the reason for this? A Buddha has personally attended 100, 1,000, 10,000, a million, a countless number of Buddhas, and has fully carried out an immeasurable number of religious practices. He has exerted himself bravely and vigorously, and his name is universally known. He has realized the law that is profound and never known before, and preaches it in accordance with what is appropriate. Yet his intention is difficult to understand. Sariputta, ever since I attained Buddhahood, I have, through various causes and various similes, widely expounded my teachings and have used countless expedient means to guide living beings and cause them to renounce their attachments. Why is this? Because the thus come one is fully possessed of both expedient means and the paramita of wisdom. Sariputta, the wisdom of the thus come one is expansive and profound. He has immeasurable mercy, unlimited eloquence, power, fearlessness, concentration, emancipation, and samadhis, and has deeply entered the boundless and awakened to the law never before attained. Sariputta, the thus come one, knows how to make various kinds of distinctions and to expound the teaching skillfully. His words are soft and gentle and can delight the hearts of the assembly. Sariputta, to sum it up, the Buddha has fully realized the law that is limitless, boundless, never attained before. But stop, Sariputta, I will say no more. Why? Because what the Buddha has achieved is the rarest and most difficult to understand law. The true entity of all phenomena can be understood and shared between Buddhas. This reality consists of the appearance, nature, entity, power, influence, inherent cause, relation, latent effect, manifest effect, and their consistency from beginning to end. At that time, the world-honored one, wishing to state his meaning once more, spoke in verse form, saying, I won't read the verse form because I have to go back and explain the prose. First, we need to know who Sariputta is. You might not know.
After prose, the verse lifted out.
We'll ask the chat bot to tell you about. Can you explain who Sariputta is in the Expedient Means chapter?
Yep. It dives into the idea that Buddha uses expedient means to guide beings toward enlightenment, adapting teachings to suit different capacities and circumstances. It's all about being flexible in sharing wisdom. What's your take on this approach?
Now, I want you to explain the reality consists of the appearance, nature, entity, power, influence, inherent cause, relation, latent effect, manifest effect, and their consistency from beginning to end, please.
Sure thing. The 10 factors describe reality in a comprehensive way, from appearance and nature to latent and manifest effects. It's like explaining how everything is interconnected, from its visible form to its inner essence and eventual impact. How does this perspective resonate with you?
Samadhi is a deep-seated meditation, is it not?
Absolutely. Samadhi is all about achieving a deep focus state of meditation. It's that intense concentration where the mind becomes fully absorbed, often seen as essential for spiritual awakening. Quite a powerful practice,
And
don't you think?
so Shariputra's role in this chapter and his relationship to the Buddha.
Shariputra is a key figure here. As a foremost disciple known for his wisdom, he represents those ready to receive the profound teachings. The Buddha skillfully guides him and others toward deeper understanding, emphasizing the potential for enlightenment in all beings. Their relationship highlights the teacher-student dynamic in the pursuit of wisdom. What do you make of their interaction?
Okay, if you're doing, some of you are already doing this practice. When you say Jo'i Shoho, Noze So, Noze Sho, Noze Tai, Noze Riki, Noze Sa, Noze In, Noze En, Noze Ka, and Noze Hamatsu Kyukyoto, that is the appearance, nature, entity, power, influence, inherent cause, relation, latent effect, manifest effect, and their consistency from beginning to end. Okay, that is the prose. Let's read the verse form. At that time, the world-honored one, wishing to state his meaning once more, spoke in verse form, saying, "The hero of the world is unfathomable. Among heavenly beings or the people of the world, among all living beings, no one can understand the Buddha. The Buddha's power, fearlessness, emancipation, and samadhis, and the Buddha's other attributes no one can reckon or fathom. Early under the guidance of countless Buddhas, he fully acquired and practiced various ways, profound, subtle, and wonderful doctrines that are hard to see and hard to understand. For immeasurable millions of kalpas, he has been practicing these ways, kalpas. You don't know what a kalpa is, do you? Let's stop and explain a kalpa. It's related to your meditation. Let's see. Can you explain a kalpa, please?
Hi again, Antoine.
Kalpa.
What's on your mind? I'm here. What's on your mind?
Kalpa, K-A-L-P-A.
Kalpa refers to a long period in Indian cosmology, often considered an eon in the cycle of the universe's creation and destruction. It's a fascinating concept that shows the cyclical nature of time. What's drawn you to this idea?
Okay, there's a kalpa. Let's see. He has been practicing these ways until the place of the practice he achieved the goal. I have already come to see and know completely this great goal and recompense, the meaning of these various natures and characteristics. I and the other Buddhas of the 10 directions can now understand these things. 10 directions are north, south, east, west, northeast, northwest, south, east, southwest, up and down. This law cannot be described. Words fall silent before it. Among the other kinds of living beings, there are none who can comprehend it, except the many Bodhisattvas who are firm in the power of faith. The many disciples of the Buddha in the past have given offerings to the Buddhas, have already cut off all outflows, and are now dwelling in their last incarnation. When you cut off all outflows, it means there are 3 outflows. They are thought, word, and deed. And if you're in your last incarnation, it bids you will not reincarnate on earth realm. You'll be liberated. Okay, go on reading. Let's go on reading. But even such persons, as they have not the power needed, even if the whole world were filled with men like Shariputra, though they exhausted their thoughts and pooled their capacities, they cannot fathom the Buddha's knowledge. It means they can't understand what the Buddha knows. Even if 10 directions were all filled with men like Shariputra or like the other disciples, though they filled the lands in the 10 directions and exhausted their thoughts and pulled their capacities, still they could not understand it. If Pratyeka Buddhas, acute in understanding without outflows in their last incarnation, should fill the worlds in the 10 directions, as numerous as bamboos in a grove, though they should join together with one mind, for 1,000,000 or for countless kalpas, hoping to conceive of the Buddha's true wisdom. They could not understand the smallest part of it. If Bodhisattvas newly embarked on their course should give offerings to numberless Buddhas, completely mastering the intent of the various doctrines and also able to preach the law effectively, like so many rice and hemp plants, bamboos or reeds, filling the lands in the 10 directions with a single mind, with a wonderful knowledge, for kalpas, numerous as Ganges sands, should all together pool their thoughts and capacities. They could not understand the Buddha's knowledge. If Bodhisattvas who never regress, their number like Ganges sands, with a single mind should join in pondering and seeking, they could not understand it either. I also announce to you, Shariputra, that this profound, subtle, and wonderful law, without outflows, incomprehensible, I have now attained in full. So he attained something that's beyond understanding, and even if he explained it, you wouldn't understand it. He could explain it to you, you wouldn't understand it. Only I understand its characteristics, and the Buddhas of the 10 directions do likewise. Shariputra, you should know that the words of the various Buddhas never differ. Toward the law preached by the Buddhas, you must cultivate a great power of faith. The world-honored one has long expounded his doctrines, and now must reveal the truth. I announce this to the assembly of voice hearers, and to those who seek the vehicle of the Pratyeka Buddha. I have been able to escape the bonds of suffering and to attain nirvana. The objective of your Buddhist practice or meditation is to achieve nirvana. Nirvana's one level of enlightenment. There's another called Anuttara, Samaks, and Bodhi. There might be other levels. The Buddha, through the power of expedient means, has shown them the teachings of the 3 vehicles, prying living beings from this or that attachment and allowing them to attain release. Attachment is formed in the mind, and it's what keeps living beings bound to. If this is a matrix, you're attached to the matrix because you're bound to the matrix because of attachments. Can you explain how attachments would keep a living being bound to the threefold world or to the matrix, please?
Sure, I can. Attachments bind us to the threefold world by creating desires and aversions. This cycle keeps us entangled in samsara, leading to suffering. Breaking free requires understanding and letting go of these attachments. How does this resonate with you?
Samsara has 6 realms, and attachment is a problem. Okay.
Yes, in Buddhist teachings, samsara consists of 6 realms.
Okay,
Gods,
we'll come back to samsara later. Okay, now we'll read verse form again. This is the 2nd chapter. At that time, among the great assembly, there were prose. We're going back to prose. First prose, and then back to verse again, if you can see that. Okay. At that time, among the great assembly, there were voice hearers, arhats whose outflows had come to an end. Anjnata, Kandinya, and the others, 1,200 persons, and there were monks, nuns, laymen, and lay women who had conceived a desire to become voice hearers or Pratyeka Buddhas. Each of these had this thought. Each of these had this thought. Now for what reasons does the world-honored one so earnestly praise expedient means and state that the law attained by the Buddha is profound and difficult to understand? That it is very difficult to comprehend the meaning of the words he preaches, that not one of the voice hearers of Pratyeka Buddhas can do. If the Buddha preaches but one doctrine of emancipation, then we too should be able to attain this law and reach the state of nirvana. We cannot follow the gist of what he is saying now. At that time, Shariputra understood the doubts that were in the minds of the 4 kinds of believers. He himself had not fully comprehended, So he addressed the Buddha, saying, World-honored one, what causes and conditions led you to earnestly praise Expedient Means, the foremost devices of the Buddhas, the profound, subtle, and wonderful law that is difficult to understand? From times past, I have never heard this kind of preaching from the Buddha. Now the four kinds of believers all have doubts. We beg that the world-honored one will expound this matter. For what reason does the world-honored one earnestly praise this law that is profound, subtle, and wonderful, difficult to understand? Okay, we talked about voice hearers, Pratyeka Buddhas, and Ashuras. Let's talk about that so you can understand it a little bit.
Hey Antoine, what's on your mind today?
Can you explain what a voice hearer is and Expedient Means, also a Pratyeka Buddha?
An expedient means is a skillful method used to guide beings towards enlightenment, while a Pratyeka Buddha is a solitary Buddha who achieves enlightenment on their own, without a teacher. Both are part of the rich tapestry of Buddhist teachings. How does this connect with what you're exploring?
Explain a voice hearer.
A voice hearer experiences hearing voices that others don't. It's common in various cultures and can be associated with psychiatric conditions or spiritual experiences. It's a deeply personal experience and can vary widely. What sparked your interest in this?
A word for a voice hearer would be
What's the word you're thinking of?
clairaudience. There's someone who can hear, but somebody else can't hear what they're hearing. That's been written off as a psychiatric problem, but the sutra says that someone has that ability. Okay, let's go on with the prose form of what we just read. But now you understand some terminology that you didn't know before, so it might be easier. At that time, Sariputta, wishing to state his meaning, once more spoke in verse form, saying, Son of wisdom, great sage and venerable one, at long last you preach this law. You yourself declare you have attained power, fearlessness, samadhis, concentration, emancipation, and these other attributes, and the law that is beyond comprehension. This law attained in the place of practice, no one is capable of questioning you about. My intention is so hard to fathom, and no one can question me. No one questions, yet you yourself preach, praising the path you walk on. Your wisdom is very subtle and wonderful, that which all the Buddhas attain. The arhats, who are without outflows, and those who seek nirvana, now have fallen into the net of doubt, wondering for what reason the Buddha preaches this. We'll explain arhats in a minute. Well, the chatbot will. All right. Those who seek to become Pratyeka Buddhas, monks and nuns, heavenly beings, dragons and spirits, along with the Gandharvas and others, look at one another filled with perplexity, gazing upward to the most honored of two-legged beings. What is the meaning of all this? I beg the Buddha to explain it for us. Among the assembly of voice hearers, the Buddha has said, I am foremost, yet now I lack the wisdom to solve these doubts and perplexities. Have I in fact grasped the ultimate law, or am I still on the path of practice? The sons born of the Buddha's mouth press palms together, gaze upward and wait. We beg you to put forth subtle and wonderful sounds, and at this time explain to us how it really is. The heavenly beings, dragons, spirits, and the others, their number like Ganges sands. The Bodhisattvas seeking to be Buddhas in a great fierce 80,000, as well as the will-turning sage kings, come from 10,000s of millions of lands. All press their palms and with reverent minds wish to hear the teaching of perfect endowment. The Buddha taught the Lotus Sutra at Vulture Peak, which is in Rajkri, India. And some people gather around. It's believed that beings who are not human, that you probably wouldn't be able to see, also were present there. One kind of is an arhat. Okay, arhats.
Hey, Antoine.
What's an arhat? A-R-H-A-T.
An arhat is someone who has attained enlightenment in Buddhism, achieving liberation from the cycle of birth and death. They've reached a state of perfection through following the Buddhist path. What's got you curious about arhats?
We're reading the second chapter of the sutra.
That's great. The second chapter is usually rich
Okay.
in teaching.
Now, an arhat is someone who's already achieved enlightenment. So if they achieved enlightenment, they're not actually living in human form. They moved on, but they can come, kind of like coming back down to the earth to help others or to attend this assembly they're at. We'll go on reading. There are also dragons, spirits, and heavenly beings at the assembly. We're in the Buddha's teaching. A dragon is a protector of the Dharma. It's not something like in Western culture, European culture. And spirits, well, there's spirits everywhere. Okay, I'm reading. At that time, the Buddha addressed Sariputta, saying, "Stop. Stop, there is no need to speak further. If I speak this matter, then the heavenly and human beings throughout the worlds will all be astonished and doubtful." Sariputta once more spoke to the Buddha, saying, "World Honored One, we beg you to preach. We beg you to preach. What is the reason? Because this assembly of countless hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, millions of asmakas of living beings in the past have seen the Buddhas. Their faculties are vigorous and acute, and their wisdom is bright. If they hear the Buddha preach, they will be capable of reverent belief." At that time, Sariputta, wishing to state his meaning once more, spoke in verse form, saying, "Dharma King, none more highly honored, speak, we beg you, without reserve. In this assembly of numberless beings are those capable of reverent belief." The Buddha repeated, "Stop, Shariputra, if I speak this matter, the heavenly and human beings and asuras throughout the world will all be astonished and doubtful. The monks who are overbearingly arrogant will fall into a great pit." At that time, the World Honored One repeated what he said in verse 4. "Stop! Stop, no need to speak. My law is wonderful and difficult to ponder. Those who are overbearingly arrogant, when they hear it, will never show reverent belief." At that time, Sariputta once more spoke to the Buddha, saying, "World Honored One, we beg you to preach. We beg you to preach in this assembly. At present, the persons like myself number in the hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, millions. In age after age, we have already attended the Buddhas and received instruction. People of this kind are certain to be capable of reverent belief. Throughout the long night, they will gain peace and rest and will enjoy many benefits." At that time, Shariputra, wishing to state his meaning, once more spoke in verse form, saying, "Supremely honored among two-legged beings, we beg you to preach this foremost law. I am regarded as the Buddha's eldest son. Ask you to favor us by preaching distinctions. The countless members of this assembly are capable of according reverent belief to this law. The Buddhas have already in age after age taught and converted them in this manner. All with a single mind and palms pressed together, desire to hear and receive the Buddha's words. I and the other 1,200 of our group, as well as the others who seek to become Buddhas, beg that for the sake of this assembly you will favor us by preaching distinctions. When we hear this law, we will be filled with great joy." I keep saying law. That might be difficult for some to to understand. Explain what the Buddha
What
means
insights can you
when
draw?
he says law and expedient means.
Expedient means are skillful methods used in
Not
Buddhism to
expedient
guide
means
beings.
law. What does he mean by law?
Lo is like saying
Law,
behold
L-A-W.
or indeed.
Law.
It seems like you're quoting or referring to a phrase. Lo is an old-fashioned exclamation to draw attention, like saying,
Okay, this is not working. Let's try again. What does the Buddha mean when he's talking about preaching the law in the Expedient Means chapter?
The Expedient Means chapter of the Lotus Sutra highlights the use of skillful methods to guide beings toward enlightenment, adapting teachings to individual needs. It's about the compassionate use of various means to lead all beings to the ultimate truth. What part resonates with you?
Okay. Didn't quite answer what I wanted to, but there's an example of expedient means. Let's see. Should we go on reading? I think I'll stop there. Samadhi is a deep-seated meditation, and the purpose of the meditation is to achieve enlightenment. In Buddhist cosmology, living beings or human beings are, after the unalive, reborn or reincarnated in another form, depending on the outcomes, the outflows. The outcome of their outflows, thought, word, and deed, the conditions change. So they're bound by karma. Karma means action. And if you go on, Google, and put in the word samsara, you can see an image. There's 6 realms. There's human realm, animal realm, hell, demigod, God, and so forth. Those are the potential realms that one could be reborn in. So they're not actually, leaving. They would seem to have left, but they come back. They reappear in another form because they have karma. So to break that cycle would be to achieve nirvana. That's the objective. All right. I'll stop there. Thank you for listening. My name is Antoine. This is my Dharma path. Welcome to Lotus Mind Flow. Remember to like, subscribe, and comment. In the next video, I'll finish the 2nd chapter.